Bam. And, and we're on, my man. Will Ball, the man on everybody's mind, the name on the tips of many tongues and many captions and comments. My dude, as we look back, if someone's to pull up your open powerlifting, funny stat. First off, a teenager hitting 920, freaking crazy, freaking crazy. Second off, looking at your open powerlifting, at your total PRs, my dude, you jumped from in the 700s straight to the 900s. You didn't even have a pit stop in the 800s. What the shit? Talk about like, yeah, all right. I'm in the late 700s. Every other 93 in the world is like, all right, whatever it is. Whatever. Bam, how you like me now? I'm 920. You didn't even pit stop at all in the 800s. Talk about how you like me now and what's up, Russ? The whole night, dog. We got to talk about all of this. Everybody is thinking the same thing. Um, who the fuck is Will Ball? Where did this come from? How is a teenager doing 920? He's calling out Russ, and it's deserved. The biggest name in the game, and it's real. It's not some kid out of nowhere, like, all right, whatever. This is legit. It's crazy. It's crazy. I can't even, we got to unpack this. I don't even know where to start, my man. So, so first off, how the shit has your life changed in the last week?
In the last week, it's been crazy. I think I gained like 3.5K on Instagram in like
I
a
bet.
few days. Mhm. But but yeah, I caught like a cold or something, dude. I don't know what it was. Leaving Chicago, it like bit me in the ass. But training's been good. I'm just kind of like I'm trying to keep myself grounded in the moment, not like overstep or anything. Definitely a few calls coming in, a few talks being talked. Um, but a lot of my friends were like, you know, we knew this is where I was. Like a lot of my friends are like, we knew, and uh, and it hasn't been really much of a big change mentally for me because I want to keep myself, I want to keep myself still, and I don't want to overstep and be like, oh, I'm this big shot now. I still got to, go to open that and really stamp it. But it is nice, opening up open powerlifting and just kind of scrolling a little bit and see my name up there. It's pretty cool.
Talk about a decrease. Listen, real quick. So your voice sounds a stitch muffled in a way. Do you think do your headphones have a mic on them?
So I don't think they do. They
Ah,
do because that's the one I'm using. Um, but I can switch it to like the computer microphone. I don't know how much
yeah,
better
let's
that'll
try it.
sound.
Yeah, let's
All
try that.
right.
We'll see. We'll see what's up. We can hear you, just not probably as loud and clear as
All right.
um. But as you do that, yeah, 100%. I'll agree with what you said, and I'm sure your close friends and family probably seen like they know your capabilities. Obviously, you do in training and prep. You guys obviously had the numbers picked out, so it can't be. It's not a total surprise to you and those close into your inner circle. However, like just like anything, the proof is in the pudding. There's a lot of people with friends that believe in them, family that believes in them, they believe in themselves. 1% of the 1% are going to be able, well, literally nobody's ever done what you've done, which is crazy to see. Literally nobody, first off. Um, and second off, the fact that A, you're a teenager, B, like again, you never did anything in the 800s even as a total in comp. And you know what they say, like in comp is where you prove yourself. So in terms of up until now, it was all potential. It was all maybe. It was all, he's good, but how good? Let's see it. Because as a wily veteran who's been in the game for quite some time, I've seen a lot of people do some big gym lifts and it never transpires. And my God, you hit that clean. This was not a local competition in which you hit 920 with some sketchy lifts. This was a full blown 100%. None of the comments are questioning your lifts. This is undisputable. 920.
I think this one might sound a little better. How's this sound?
Oh, way better. Way better. There it is.
There
I'm
we
glad
go.
we did it.
There we go.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, that was a beautiful slick 920. When you were coming into this, was it on the docket? Was it on the plan 920?
So what's crazy is up until a week out, me and my coach weren't even planning for anywhere near 920. I wanted to load like 900, make it look clean, make it like RPE 7, like, undershoot. I pulled 360 and my coach was like, okay, let's use this. We were like, okay, let's shoot for like 922.5 on all top end ranges. And then yeah, I think my original plan was 327.5, 227.5, and then like 365. I don't even know what that is, but yeah, and then obviously the day went, and after bench, I didn't think I had it. I didn't think I was like, okay, we'll pull like for
No,
900.
shit, you really? So you were not even so the excitement and everything you had, full on genuine, because you didn't know you were even going to be taking pole position in the whole flipping weight class worldwide.
Sure.
Like you just became the number one ranked 93 in the world. And you didn't realize this was about to transpire.
I had no clue. I didn't even know until after it had happened because that third pull, that 375, it was not my call. It was my handler's call. I pulled my first. I was like, okay, it's 325. I pulled my second, and my second, man, 345 has never moved like that ever
Mm,
for me. It's like my third time pulling it. But can you get down?
it's all good.
Um, he's
I
like,
got a cat. I got a cat too, man. He tries to be co-host sometimes. I got to lock him out my room and everything. He
but
wants to jump in.
he's like on the. You better not disconnect me.
No shit.
Yeah, no, I pulled 345. It was like I think I've never loaded exactly 345, but it flew. My handler was like, dude, what was that? Because 360, it moved good, but you
Right.
know, uh, and then I was like, well, listen, man, my hard part is at my lockout, and just take that as you will. Everybody in the warm-up room, Carrie Tons was like, you're gonna load everything, right? And I was like, why not, man? And I was like, load it all. And I didn't know what he put down. I just said that and I walked away. And, you know,
It's it's like that's pretty vague still. That's pretty like when you're like, you're gonna load it, right? It's like, I don't know what we're talking about, but sure, yes, load it all. And it's like, okay, what the fuck does that mean? And apparently it meant number 193 in the world. And you did so when you're walking out for your final deadlift, what do you know? What information do you have in your head?
I have anything in my head. I'm looking at the reds and I'm thinking it's 375 because I'm like, wait a minute. I don't see any other plates on there.
Yeah.
And I'm walking out and I'm like, this just needs to be the pull for like my 9 for 9, like best meat, super meat ever. And I just need to make this my pull. And yeah, I had one goal and that was to not drop it.
And when you hit this, so you're quickly doing the math in your head, but you're trying not to be the last thing you want to do is turn into a mathematician when you're about to deadlift some crazy shit. You can't get in your head too much. You just got to rock and roll. It is what it is. Whatever is loaded on that bar. You hit this. It's the point that you locked this out, and you went crazy. Like obviously, regard whether it was you knew it was a big total. You knew you'd hit some big lifts, and your reaction to it was so genuine, so much energy. It made an absolute beautiful social media, which we collabed on. I mean, freaking blew up. That alone got like 12,000 likes in like freaking 12 hours. It was crazy how quickly.
It was nuts.
Because everyone's
I saw the growth of that collab. It was insane.
I knew I had to hop on that real quick. My man Pete Spence jumped into my DMs. Pete Spence, like SPD Sheffield meet director Pete Spence, and was like, "Tell me you're all over this Will Ball, and tell me you're not going to drop the ball on Will Ball." And I'm like, "My man." He's like, I was like, "I'm looking online. I don't see any posts or nothing yet." He's like, get onto the live stream and start clipping. This is one. It took a minute. It takes a minute to like clip up 3 hours, rip through 3 hours, clip up all the top lifts, and then you post a celebration first, and then you get into the first lifts to do all that, put on the captions. Took a minute. Let me tell you something, Will. Time well spent. Time well spent. It got the traction we were looking for, and everybody was
It
all
did.
in
It
the,
looked
in the
good.
comment section like, holy shit. It was definitely worthy. So when you hit that last pull, did you know it was 920 yet? Did you know you would just surpass legends? No.
I
You
had
just knew
no
you
clue
had a day.
because I had benched subpar, squatted subpar. It was like 7.5 off my best. And then I was like, okay, this is a pretty big pull, but I don't know if I benched or squatted enough for, 920 or if I fell short. I calculated 915 for like,
Mm,
5 keys on my all-time PR.
mm,
Obviously I knew that this was a pretty big pull, but I was like, okay, at most I matched or like I matched Kaiko.
which is
But
phenomenal.
but
Did
I
yeah,
had no clue that I loaded 920.
so when you found out, what was it when you came off? Tell me about when you found out, and then you call out, like, was it right immediately you call out Russ? And
So I had walked into like the warm-up room because the warm-up room is connected to the stage. We had walked back and everyone was telling me you just loaded 920. Everybody was like screaming that at me. And I turn around and I see this camera like at waist angle. And I'm like, dude, I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I'm thinking in my head, I just beat Russ on paper. So I'm like,
got
what's the harm?
no harm, dude. You have to do it. You got to give a shout out to Russ. And what was it you said again?
I think I said, what now, Russ? What
That's right.
now?
That's right. Balls in your court. Russ jumped up, took pole position as the number 193. Then you took it from him, like, balls in your court now. I'm holding the baton. Let's see what happens. Abs, dude, it happened so organically from you popping up. People knew you were going to put something big, but holy freaking smokes, man. 920 as a teenager. And the fact that you got legends in your weight class in a name like Russ. Timing is everything in life. The fact that Russ took the world record and is the current world record holder. If you had done this just a month too soon and it wasn't Russ, you could have shut it out of Emil, who's the current world champ. Good. But in Emil is the world champ, sensational lifter, obviously Sheffield several times over. But Mills not Russ. Nobody's Russ in the game. Nobody has Russ's attention in longevity and resume like Russ. The fact that it was so soon after Russ had to go first for that to be as impactful. And for you to say, "What's up now, Russ?" You know how many people I had in my DMs saying, "Did you see what he said about Russ?" It matters, man. Opportunity matters. You need to jump on promoting the next meet right after the first meet is done. Right after that meet is done, when everyone's looking at you, that's the time you do it. Not a week later, not a month later, not in the comment section or something. It's right then, right there on the stream, camera in your face. Everyone's excited. What are you going to say? And your knee jerk reaction was perfect. What's up now, Russ? What's up now?
I think in that moment, it was on top of knowing everything, the adrenaline like rushing through me. I'm like, I'm thinking, what's the harm? I'm thinking of like the UFC like
Yeah.
announcements when they're in the cage, they're pointing at their next fight in the crowd. I feel like that was kind of a super similar moment that I had.
It's exactly that. And to like promote the clashes. Powerlifting is now in the place it is and enjoying the attention we're getting because of this. Because people can't wait. Oh shit, Rondell Bob. Oh shit, Will Russ. And then in the comments, you see people in the comments, that one gif of Russ going like this when he's on stage at Sheffield. Perfect. Perfect. Let the Russ fans jump in the comments and have a reaction to it. You want that. You want people to start choosing sides, the young upstart, the OG vet. Perfect. This is it. This is the generational battle, and it's everything you want, as opposed to you could go vanilla with it and just be like, well, I tried real good, and I don't know, I'm competing against myself. It's like, all right, well, frick. It's all right. You get no traction with that, my man. Nobody cares. And Russ, of all people you could call out, Russ knows what time it is. He's a massive
Right.
sports fan and he's game, and he'll be like, okay, good, young man. This is the way you're supposed to do it. Let's give him a show. It is what it is. He's been around the block a million times.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's used to having people come up and like threaten his spot. And I feel like he's defended it pretty well,
Oh yeah.
but I feel like this time I feel like it may be a little different. Yo, can you get off the keyboard?
I love
I
it. I
can't.
love this time's gonna be different. Well, it is, dude. Undeniably, you 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 are different. Dude, there's absolutely no question about that. I don't think we've ever seen a teenager emerge quite like you to take, open position. We have teenagers who have a lot of hype behind them, and teenagers that have come up that have showed a lot of promise and are phenomenal juniors. But for a teenager to be the number one in the open, I can't think of the last time a teenager became the number one ranked lifter in the open. Can you off the top of
I,
your
th-
head?
I think the one time I remember that something similar happened was when Callie deadlifted when he be okay. You're stepping on my keys, man. But when Callie deadlifted to win the open,
Yeah, but dog, uh was he a teenager? I don't think he's a teenager.
I don't think so. I
I
don't
don't think,
remember.
dude, I think this is uncharted territory. Now watch, anyone listening is going to be all up in my DMs with some powerlift. You'll have a guy like Matt Gary who knows all powerlifting trivia, but it is
Actually,
yeah, exactly.
the
Actually 1992 in Ukraine, the World Championships. Like, all right, here we go. Um
and actually three years ago in Russia, this happened.
yeah. But it's the last time I can remember, and it's extremely, I mean, even beginning the year 2025, and this is when Russ was still in 83, and he's winning the battle of the 83s at Sheffield, reclaiming the world record there. In the beginning of 99 or 2025, did you anticipate any of this? Where were you at?
At the beginning of 25, I was thinking about like maybe I'll end the year off with like 900. I'm not thinking too far ahead of myself, but I definitely have goals. I'm thinking about, Gauge Division Nationals because I did go there. That would have been my 800 pit stop actually, had I not bombed out on squats.
Dude, it's
But
actually better. It's actually a better story you didn't. It's better you bombed and didn't do an 800 pit stop and went from seven something to nine something. It is a
100%.
ridiculous. It's so crazy. But sorry, go ahead. Continue.
No, but yeah, I'm thinking, maybe I want to end the year off with a junior world championship and not like a sub junior world championship win, but I really that's about it. I'm thinking, yeah, I'll have a good year. I want to just run the same meets again. But I was nowhere near thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna load 920 after Russ and like chip his record and be higher than him on paper.
It's funny how quickly things change and how much a difference a year can make, and not even a year. But in January, if I told you the number one, number two 93s in the world was Russel Orhii, people like, sorry, the 83 who just broke the 83 world record, and a teenager who hasn't totaled 800 kilos yet. I'd say Will Ball. They go, excuse me, Will Ball. He hasn't totaled 800 yet. Oh yeah, no, that's the number one and number two 93s in the world haven't registered anything in the 900s out of 93 yet. As a matter of fact, one of them hasn't registered an 800 kilo total yet, and the other one's not even a 93 altogether. And people would say, "What the fuck are you talking about? Like this is crazy." You, everyone would have beginning in January. The 93s was almost a revolving door of Emil Krastev, Jonathan Keiko, Gustav Hedlund. We had like some people we were used to seeing. We'll talk about them as well in open worlds, and I want to get your impression on U.S. nationals. Brandon Petrie, these are people we were used to seeing. Fast forward to October, and boom, everything's flipped on a dime. What was your impression of first off U.S. nationals? Watching what Jonathan Keiko did, Petrie loading up and missing his last deadlift, but an absolute sensational battle. You got Gavin Aiden in the mix. I mean, the 93s are nothing but killers. But what were you thinking when you watched the Battle of the 93s U.S. Nationals?
Being there, I'd specifically gone there for that because I was like, dude, that's gonna be such a show. I'm looking at the roster and I'm like, oh my God, I have to be there for that. But my impression was I thought it was something insane to watch. Like Kaiko hit, and then we go miss, 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 and these are all pulls for the win. It was
Mhm.
like my heart was being clutched each time I heard bars loaded. But I thought it was great, honestly. Respects to Petrie as well.
Like amongst those, and yes, first off, Heiko is in a tough position where he's got to pull first. Like these fellas got monster pulls after him. But Kaiko is so consistent. That's why open worlds, we'll talk about that in a sec, but open worlds, like Kaiko very rarely misses. When the battle is on and the guy is always in the battle, in the 93s, and you're going to find out, 93s, there's always a battle. It's never, very rarely is it, you won by your second pull. Uh, so Kaiko very rarely misses, but guys like Petrie loading up, and Petrie's got a deadlift that it feels like in the right moment he can load up whatever the hell he needs to. Um, Amongst those guys, did you have a favorite you were cheering for?
Think I was really favoring anyone. It was definitely nice to see Kaiko win. Um, I kind of I kind of wanted Gavin to win. I
Oh,
like
you're a
not
Gavin
like
guy.
I wasn't like oh yeah I really want I was just like man I really would have loved to see Gavin win. But also it was just it's nice to see so many high quality like high tier lifters battle like that in such like a I want to say like a small like such a stacked class because it's like you said 93s are always going to be a battle. It's never like, oh yeah, there's one champion that stays for this long.
Yeah, that's why it seems to be like a revolving door
Yeah.
between those gentlemen. And then you have guys like Petrie and Gavin who have come close, but are just knocking on that door real close. I know what you mean about Gavin. My man can hop on the freaking podcast, throw around numbers like 1,000 kilos, and I swear to God, he should be a salesman because he could make you believe in that moment when he's talking to you, you believe almost anything he's going to say. Be like, I fucking, you walk into the podcast thinking one thing, you walk and telling yourself, like, his total's like 900 or whatever. And then you walk out of the podcast being like, my man could hit 1,000 kilos. Jesus Oliveras better be careful. Like, I mean, he has such a romanticized view of his abilities, but the way he talks it makes you start believing yourself. I love those podcasts, but I know what you mean. Um, and amongst those gentlemen, Gavin is one guy that's been doggedly pursuing and hasn't won the big one in the world championship. Broke a world record, not the world championship. And worlds, open worlds, Emil Krastev finally grabs that world title. He's won the Battle of the 93s before. Obviously, Gustav Hedlund's won the world title and won Sheffield. Kaiko, like you said, he's won worlds a couple times over, medaled at worlds and done big things. He was number 193 in the world several times over for many, many years. But Emil Krastev finally picks up the title. Did you watch Open Worlds? I would assume you did.
I did. I did.
What was your
So,
thoughts?
honestly, I tell like a few people this. I'm an appeal guy. I think in the 93s, if I had to say I have a favorite lifter, in like worldwide, it has to be Emil. Because
No
like
shit.
it's something about watching him lift is like it's always so exciting. Like and I think he's really genuinely well-rounded, you know? But I was really happy, honestly. But I also thought that like because it was in Belgium, like Germany this year,
Mm,
I knew it was like really hot and they like nobody could like keep their liquids and their fluids in.
fact. Um, when I was back there in the warm up room, it was insane. People had fans that they had brought in, and especially like the super heavyweights. By the time the super heavyweights got around, so Nanzo, who was a 120, obviously, was like severe cramping, well documented on his last pull. He had extreme cramping. His hands cramped up, and he couldn't let go of the bar, even though like he was stuck and it was going to come out of his hands. But his hands cramped up so hard he couldn't let go of it. So instead of letting go, his hands became like wraps, like you know when you have straps on, and he couldn't let go of the bar, but the bar was coming back down, and it just pulled his shoulder out, and he ended up getting injured. When they went for the medal ceremony, Jurgens found him like back at the ambulance. They were checking him out just to make sure. He was like, something's messed up. Ended up not being anything major, but like felt like it could have. I mean, freaking a horrible situation, but super hot back there. And then by the time the super heavyweights rolled around, I was telling all the super heavyweights, men and women, stay in the hallways because they're like air conditioned. Do what you got to do to stay as retain as much water as possible because it was hot back there. And Emil Krastev, I could tell you straight up, first off, he's from Bulgaria. So he got attention and love the hard way. There's not a lot of media, social media, not a lot of fitness influencers. When I first met Emil, definitely a language barrier. And this is back in like 2021. But I could tell you straight up, he's been at every world since 2021. He's at every silent worker meet in France. I have the opportunity to go out there and commentate, close friends with the equipe. And Emil's at all of those. And as nice a guy as you're going to meet. I mean, humble, nice. He sees you, even though you guys are competitors, be respectful. Like he's genuinely like that. A super nice guy. And but also happy that he finally won it. Because he's been doggedly pursuing this and doesn't full on get the respect because I don't know if it's because like yeah, Bulgaria isn't like the hotbed of powerlifting, nor social media. And but he's always in the mix in terms of the 93s, and he's disciplined, and I think he's got Kedrick for his programming coach, so they're on
Yeah,
point.
he's
They're going to
with
be on point with it.
performance.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, Emil is like, I could tell he's a super nice guy. He actually texted me like a day or two after I was done competing, and
What?
he was like, great job. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Really?
I thought that was super nice of him.
I'm telling you, man, some people will do it performatively. So like in stories, in comments, and that's not just necessarily just for performance. That could be actually genuine and they want everyone else to get attention. Like they want you to get attention from all of their followers, which is nice. Like if somebody with a following gives you a shout out, they could do it in a DM or they could do it in public so that all their followers get attention or you get attention from their followers or rather that's nice. That's a nice thing. It's not just performative. I don't want to downplay, but Emil is the type of guy. He's the genuine type. He'll go straight to you, just like, look, I just want to let you know, so you know, like, I'm not doing it just because I feel like I should or whatever. He genuinely is that dude. It's and I've had him on the podcast a bunch of times over the years. And when I had that in studio one, after the World Championships, it was me, Emil, Kaiko, and Gustav. And this shit went off on social media as well. When I asked the
I
fellas,
saw that.
Russel Orhii joining. What are your thoughts on this? And I had to ask a couple times, like I had to key it up and tell Emil, he's coming for what you got. Because initially he's like, yeah, no, I hope he does well. Emil, all right, let's try this again. Because I got to get a better quote out of him, right? Let's try
Gotta
this
get
again,
like
Playboy.
the
Yeah, yeah. Come on, mate. Give me a soundbite. Emil, he wants to take what you have. And that's when Gustav and Emil were like, they gave me the most European, we'll be ready. We're not afraid. Like come
yeah.
and get some if you want it. And then Russ, never one to lose an opportunity, much like yourself, jumps in the comments. I'll see you boys soon. I'll see you boys soon. Just wait up, rest up, because I'm coming. So obviously, Russel Orhii, North American Championship, comes in kind of a funny story, ends up bouncing around the world a little bit, went to the wrong country, ends up in the right country, has some stomach issues, which lowered his body weight, ends up having a good performance, and the lowered body weight actually benefited him because he became the first 93 with a 10 times body weight total. So Russ breaks the world record, first 93 to do 10 times body weight. So all's well that ends well. If there's a reason for everything, there's a reason why he had stomach issues, right? The universe was like, nah, you could thank me later. What was your impression after watching Russel Orhii's North American Championship in 93 kilo entrance?
Definitely something that I was like, man, like that's crazy. But I was sitting there and I don't really like to look at something and I'm like, oh, I can do that, or like, I don't go immediately to comparing myself. But to comment on the 10 times body weight, I was pretty close to taking that second spot, actually. I think I would have taken like the heaviest, or no, not the heaviest, but I was zero point 0.1 kilos off, or 1 kilo off my total, to secure 10 times body weight even. Because I had weighed in at 92.1, and then I probably would have just needed 1 kilo on my total. And I was sitting there, I was like, man, I could have also taken that from Russ. Like that would have been nice.
I leave a little bit in the bag for some more, man. Always leave them asking for more. I don't think many people notice because you're like number one anyways. But so when you saw that and were you expecting Russ to take the world record and assume number one position like that, or what was your thoughts?
I definitely expected him to do something crazy. I was definitely expecting him to be like, okay, this is my time to shine. I thought he was gonna, like what he did. I thought he was gonna, come in and really make a statement. And I think he did that. I think he really did like punch his way through and definitely like announce himself in the 93s.
I mean, I remember I was asking Russ, and it's funny because it's uncharted territory, and as confident as Russ is, he wants to see himself. He was confident, but you're not sure. Again, like proof is in the pudding. You think like when you're training, you probably have some days you're like, yeah, I got this. And you probably have other days you're like, what the shit? I'm not this, I don't know. You're like, holy smokes. I think it definitely benefited the fact that if he's going to make an entrance into the 93s, to do it at North Americans for the world record, be on your own so these other guys aren't there. Not quite as much pressure, at least initially. Not that Russ isn't battle tested. My God, he's been in a kabillion battles at this point. However, it's crazy to jump up a weight class and like 7 months later take a second world record in a second weight class. Like that's pretty good. Like that's more than pretty good. It's historic. So I think that helped out. But my God, I think he would have thought he could smell the roses a little bit longer than a month later, and then you arrive. It seemed like all of this helped set up what you were about to do. And the funny thing is, it sounds like you didn't even fully walk into this with the expectations that that's what like was this a possibility in terms of if everything went 100%? Was it your A picks to do it?
I think 920, my game plan going into it was like 922 and a half. And then I wasn't really thinking, 922 and a half and like open world record. I wasn't really thinking like, okay, I can be the best in the world for the 93s. I wasn't like, I was like, okay. Let me get my redemption meet and I'll like prove myself, prove that I'm not like bad because I bombed out. Um, but like 100%, I think my on paper 100% meet would have been like 935 because I did 330, 230, and then the 375 in meet. So I think it definitely could have been a lot crazier had I had like more weight on me or my recomp went better.
Hmm.
But yeah, I wasn't really thinking in hindsight, or I wasn't really thinking in the within the future. I was thinking more in the moment, making sure everything was tuned the right way, like everything was dialed, and just having the best me I could have had.
You talk about like the meet before that you bombed out at. You probably are aware of when Russ and Petrie had their back and forth, and Russ went at Petrie for bombing, and in his stories he had like bomb pictures of like cartoon bomb pictures and blah blah blah. My dude, thank God you bombed before you called out Russ, because if it happened afterwards, Russ will not let you off the hook. He'll be like, fair. Now it's fair game. He'd be like, we'll keep it sporting, but now it's fair game. It is what it is. What do you feel like in terms of? So were you watch? How long have you been watching powerlifting?
I've been watching powerlifting since, man, I've been, man, it's been a while because I started powerlifting and I would watch Russ like in my early days and like what else did I watch? I watched like more like gym goers like Lex Little and like James English. But I remember this core video. This also ties into like the night before, but this one, the Chance Mitchell, I think it was 2021 Worlds, the Chance Mitchell, where he won based off
2022.
2022. I've watched that video, that three white lights battle in the 93s. I watched that video so much. It's such a good video. I actually watched that the night before I competed. And it was like, so I think I watched the first Sheffield. So a few years now. It's been a few years. I want to say like three, because I haven't been powerlifting for very long.
No, it's
So
we'll get into your background story, but first off, those white lights videos are those battle white lights videos are absolutely shout out to Ramsey and the white lights crew. I mean, it's white lights that does these live podcasts with me at Sheffield and Worlds and whatnot. They're the ones who put it together. I show up and just and do the usual podcasting thing. But Ramsey does the scheduling, does the setup, does the camera work, does the editing, and God bless. Extremely talented
it's so
guys.
good every time.
Oh my God, I'm writing their coattails for a lot of that stuff. I'll tell you. But yeah, and first off, the Chance Mitchell win when he upset Keiko, because Keiko was the guy. Keiko was he was the number 193 before he ever won the world title because he was around during the lockdown years when we missed the world championship. He was the number 193 then and didn't have he probably would have had another world title to his name. He was the number 193. Then he won the 93s and he was going into that meet definitely the favorite. And when Chance took that tight, like the underdog, when he took that, is that first off, is that the type of sports story you like? Is the underdog sports story?
I do like that kind of sports story, but also when you have one champion that you know will win no matter what, when you can have that champion like defend and come up and just reign for so long, it's like, okay, you can rely on that. You can rely on like the confidence, but also seeing people come up and defending and like him defending against those newcomers is such like a it's such a nice thing to watch. It's like, okay, this is a respectable competitor, but this is the champion. But it makes it such a good like battle to watch, I think.
There's something there's something you said for both, obviously, but like for instance, and I've said this before, Penna is like the champion that was always the underdog. Every time he won, he was not supposed to win. And he's won a couple times. And then he go to Sheffield with the battle of the 66s and he's won there. And same thing. He was the underdog. Even if he's the reigning champ, you're like, fuck, I'm still the underdog. And he'd go to head up with Kyoto at Sheffield and win the battle of the 66s there. But then there's a guy like Russ, who has a 90 or an 83 was so dominant. And to your point, defending when everyone's coming, and all of these young upstarts would be coming, and they're everyone in the comments, this guy's coming, that guy's coming, and then Russ makes one post of him standing there, and the caption just read, "Let them come," and it's like fucking cold as ice, man. It's like, oh, that's the only reply you need when you're the king and you heard it all. This guy's coming, that guy's coming, and your reply to your point when you're that dominant champion, let them come. And he's going to stand on business. Both of them. We need both. We need champions both. Where you're like, oh damn, if I could be like that, but also the guy who nobody's expecting to win, and he's facing these incredible odds, and he's got that crazy belief to turn it around anyways. When all the experts are picking someone else, you need both stories. Who do you think you most identify with at this point?
I think we kind of know I'm the underdog at this point, because like when you really look at it, especially just numbers, I came out of nowhere. Like
Mm.
there was no like unless you were really pocket watching, there
Yeah,
was no indication of like, oh, I'm gonna total this or I can do this. And I think what kind of drives me, like not what drives me, but what carries me through that fact and like what keeps that solid is just the fact that I'm so young and like my progression rate will be so much quicker and I have so much more time to do so well. And I think that like identifies me as the underdog.
I I mean, I agree in terms of like, yeah, I don't know if you're an underdog though. I would say you were an underdog going into this, your last meet, in terms of like, can he be the number one in the world? To be like, oh my gosh, he's 19. Like, this is asking a lot. You'd almost feel bad to say that out loud because you want to put pressure on a 19-year-old to beat legends like Russ and whatnot, right? Like, and Gustav and Emil and Kaiko. It's a lot to throw on a young guy. You almost don't want to put that much pressure on a junior like that. And then afterwards, due to everything you said, the fact that you're 920 at 19, if I'm looking to 2026 and you tell me, six, who do you think is going to have the most progress and improve upon their 920 or improve upon their 2025 total? I think most people would say, I gotta think the 19-year-old's going to make the most gains. Not always. Like, look, at that's not always the case. You look at a guy like Jerns will put like freaking 30 kilos on his total, and the guy's pushing 40. It's crazy. You have some incredible sports stories out there. So it's not always the case. I'm not saying this is, but it's going to be interesting when we do the podcast. We're way too early for a preview podcast, but it's going to be interesting because I think a lot of people are going to be like, look at 19 plus 920 equals, I don't know, what does it equal? Let's what do you think you could put on by the time US Nationals rolls around?
I don't want to solidify anything because I don't like to like put restrictions on myself that far ahead. But honestly, uh, I'll just put up an example. If I had 10 kilos to my squat, that's 340. And if I had 5 kilos to my bench, that's 235. What's let's do the math. That's if I don't progress on deadlift. 340, 235, 375. If I don't progress on my deadlift at all and add 10 kilos on squat and 5 kilos on bench, that means I'll total 950. I, I mean,
Ah,
we're just gonna have to let the numbers come to me because I can't say, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this because when we look at it, I put 30 kilos on my deadlift in how many months? Like 2.5. From nationals, my third attempt was 340 at 10. A month later, I did 350 at 10. And in between that time, I paused 340 at like 7 to 8. And then I pulled 375 like a month later.
it's crazy.
If I have like the least amount of gains, I I don't want to say I'm winning the Open Nationals, but
You go. If I have the least amount of gains, you all fucked. That's what I just. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, obviously, we're having fun here. We're assuming everyone else is going to level up as well. But
oh yeah.
however, like all that being said, you are 19. It seems inevitable you're going to have massive improvements upon your total. It seems inevitable. Cannot look past other guys. Again, Jurns exists and he's proven, and more than just Jurns, like Meg Scanlon, et cetera. There's a lot of lifters who are mid to late 30s who are having crazy gains on their total. So, and when you get to the top end, things slow down a little, but there's no indication of you slowing down. Like top end at who hits top end at 19? Very rarely does some I PR'd in 19, competed for another 10 years, did not PR again. Said almost nobody. I can't remember anybody who, yeah, my peak was a teenager lifting and like that's no, there's more. There's more. That's almost given. I don't know.
I definitely think that the rest of the roster, there's it's such a stacked class. But like you can't count those guys out. They're very experienced. They know like the loops, the tricks, they know all these different things on how to actually keep progressing and just keep evolving at such a high tier. So I think they definitely have that. They have so much more knowledge than me. They're so much more experienced. They've been through the ringer so many different times. But they're definitely gonna get better. They're not just gonna sit around and do nothing about this. They're not gonna be like, oh yeah, we'll just give it up. We're just not gonna stop progressing completely. That's just not realistic. But I definitely think that, that kind of experiment that we ran is definitely will make things interesting for how Open Nationals is gonna go.
You have Emil Krastev is the current world champion. You have Russel Orhii is the current world record holder. You have yourself, Will Ball, who is the current open powerlifting number one ranked 93. And then you have likely Jonathan Kaiko, who is probably the most established 93 in terms of resume with world records, world championships, and world championship medals. And then of course, not far beyond them is individuals like Gustav Hedlund, who won Sheffield and the Open 93 kilo world championship, the only 93 to do that. And you have guys like Brandon Petrie and Gavin Aiden, who seem they're so close. All they need is the super meet perfect day and throw them right up in the mix. Amongst all these people, who is today, and I'm using my words very carefully, who is the strongest, not number one, not best resume, not any of that, who is the strongest 93 kilo lifter alive today? What's his name?
Like, how do you want me to determine this? Because I mean, on paper, technically, I take the spot, but man, oh, Gavin's so jacked. He's such a jacked man.
It's a jack man. That's a good description. That true fact. But who's the
Man,
strongest? Not who's the most jacked. Not who's the current world champ. Not who's proven themselves. Nothing about proven. I don't care about who did what. Who is the strongest 93 currently today?
I mean, when I think of strength, I think of, who's done what. But I feel like that kind of falls under proven, proving what they can do. I think I might have to go with myself.
Oh man.
I gotta go with myself.
Oh, hey, bet on yourself. And his name is Will Ball. If you're wondering, his name is Will Ball, ladies and gentlemen. It's the strong. Now, um, good answer first off. Now, who do you think is the number one 93 in the world today? If not, and it could be the same answer. This is no trick question. But who do you think is the number one 93 kilo lifter in the world today? You can make an argument for the same gentleman, though, right?
I mean, with the same reasonings, you could. Um, man, I don't want to say myself again, but
However, just let your gut sort you out and steer you.
I mean,
Can I
the
ask you a
number
question?
190,
Do numbers lie? Numbers don't lie.
the
Numbers
numbers
don't
don't
lie.
lie. The numbers don't
Math.
lie.
You know why? You want to know why math is universal, my friend? Numbers are numbers. There's it's not lost in translation. It's
I gotta go
universal,
with
right?
myself,
Okay,
you
here we
know.
are. There we are. There we go. There we go. But let's open it up then. First off, good answers. Let's open this up then. Let's say there are naysayers, and they're like, okay, we want to see like titles, battles, head to heads, etc., whatever. All right, we already know titles. You win the world title. That's that. But let's say if there's one battle and you can only go against one guy, you're going to end up facing more than one guy at a time. You go to US Nationals, there could be a shitload of these 93s there. You go to Worlds, there's going to be a shitload of these 93s there. But let's just say in this scenario, you can only pick 193 in the world. One that you think will establish you as a number 193 because you believe you're the number 193 and you should. Okay, don't feel any ways about that. You should. All right. Their inner belief means a lot for an athlete. But let's say there's naysayers out there in the community being like, well, what about this guy? What about that guy? Blah, blah, blah. I already said you can make claims for Emil, the world champ, claims for Kaiko, who's like probably the GOAT in terms of resume. And then you can make claims for Russell, who's the current world record holder. You can make claims for other individuals. But if you had to pick and you can only pick one guy to go head up against, who do you think would be that one head to head matchup that would help establish you even against the naysayers?
I think I want to say Emil, but obviously he did just win open worlds for that championship. So I'd say Gustav. 100% Gustav since he's been to Sheffield several amount of times he's won and he has the championship under his belt. He's one of the most consistent guys. He's in that rotating three. It's one of our USA guys, usually Kaiko, Gustav, Emil. He's just a little bit more established, I'd say, resume wise than Emil. But with my personal feelings, like facts aside, I feel like it'd be Emil.
Yeah.
Be like,
So
okay,
here's
I won against Emil. Like saying that is like, okay.
because I mean, like first off, in terms of your first leaning Gustav, and he's the only 93 to win open worlds and Sheffield in the same year. I gotcha. Like that's a hell of a year. That's a really good year. But then you landed on a meal, which also, if you're gonna pick one guy, if you to be like, all right, I'm the guy. Take the reigning world champion. This is the guy. He won the biggest battle on the biggest stage, the world championships. He's the reigning world champion. I went head to head with him and I beat him. What does that make me? And I have the highest total. Probably you're probably right. That probably is the answer. And as another one, if you wanted to say Russ for the fact he's the world record holder and he's Russel Orhii. So if within the community his esteem and name recognition is so high that you would say, look, if not Emil, the community would view of win over Russ like it turns you legendary, like it did Jurens. It becomes whatever. That's also pretty good answer. But if you had to choose one, I think I would go after the reigning world champ as well. Then you be like, look, I didn't win the world championship, but I beat the world champion in a head-to-head matchup. So, and I have the biggest total in the weight class. So what does that make me? I think we're pretty good. That's as good as you can get. Lucky for you, you have a pathway through the US, through worlds, and you're probably going to face all these gentlemen, all the above. Unless, of course, Russ doesn't do open US Nats and he just does Sheffield. Uh, that would be that's the toughest. And we haven't announced, we don't know nothing about no pathways, but this is like obviously he's in contention, right? So we all have to sit back and watch how 2026 um, unfolds. When do you turn 20, by the way?
I turned 20 the week of Nats. So I think like a few days before Nats,
Shit.
I'll be 20.
Would have been pretty cool if you go into Nats as a teenager, just to keep
That
that
would be sick.
that stream alive. What is your like? I'm assuming the goals for 2026. Are you full on now? I am winning Nats. I am winning Worlds, and your 2026 ends with Sheffield 2026 in your mind's eye.
You know, if I say if because I can't I won't I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm striving for that Open Nationals win. We win Open Nationals, we go to Open Worlds. We win Open Worlds, we go to Sheffield. Again, I'm still technically a junior, so I could accept the junior worlds invite and the collected junior world championship. That I feel like that'd be like looked down upon. But it's like a failsafe. It's like, things go wrong, then that'll always be there for me. But I'm my 100% like a plan A is gonna be Open Nationals, Open Worlds, Sheffield. Because Sheffield's like a pipe, it's like a dream. It's like, okay, you went to Sheffield.
Yeah, dude. The thing is too, the Sheffield that you would be targeting, because there's two in 2026, obviously, one in the beginning, one in the
Mhm.
end. The one you're targeting is in the stadium. It's going to be twice as many people. It's going to be the wildest. And to your point, I mean, freaking, I can't believe being your age experiencing that because I was just working the media side of it. And I was like, oh my God. Like this is the thing. The thing is, this is happening so quickly for you. Like in not just quickly in terms of age, and it's super fast to be a teenager in the spot like this, but quickly in terms of like again, like we said, overnight you went from in the 700s to 920, and all of a sudden, boom, everybody's like Will Ball. We're living in Will Ball's world. We got like you're talking about how crazy it would be to be at Sheffield, and I'm telling you, the meet director of Sheffield was like telling me you saw Will Ball. You know what I mean? Like you're on everybody's radar. It's got to be so unrelatable to everyone else your age that you're hanging out with, like your friends and in your normal life who aren't involved in powerlifting. This has got to be so unrelatable to be on podcasts like, people all over the world listen to King of the Lifts and are going to be hearing about this. How nuts of a year is this for you?
This is like what I wanted to it's like the start of what I want it to be. Because I don't want to say I've always wanted powerlifting to be for me as big as it can be. I definitely started out like, okay, I enjoy this. It was uh it was something like I can do in my free time. It was a hobby, but I definitely still dedicated a lot of my life to it surrounding it and the sport in a whole. And as soon as I started with the sport, I loved it, you know. And I've been thinking about Sheffield. I was like, I was a little kid in USAPL thinking about, dude, what if I could get into Sheffield? That would be insane, you know. Never writing it off or, guaranteeing it or chasing it, but I'm just thinking, man, that would be sick. But this is a pretty big year for me, and I think next year will be a lot bigger. I think really anything I do will have a reaction. Um, and all I really need to do is progress. And I think that's gonna be the easy part.
Probably. The biggest thing is going to be adapting, like you had said earlier with the veterans. The one thing that they have that you can't have it, you have to live it. You can watch videos, read about it, but only living it and experiencing it will be showing up at an event like Sheffield, showing up like what happens when a weight cut, and I'll ask you about weight cutting for yourself, but a weight cut goes awry and you got to try to make weight, or what happens when you start missing lifts but the battle's still on and you got to keep going, or what happens when you lose in front of the world, and like has happened to Russ, has happened to Penna, has happened to the greats, and you have to rally back and face those same guys next meet and everyone's watching and everyone was dancing on your grave before, talking shit, and you're like, damn. And all you knew previously was the come up when it was all will ball, will ball, will ball. And all of a sudden you take your first L and it's like, holy shit. All the people who were like, yeah, that's what I thought. It's like, what? Where did this come from? People you don't even know are like ready to dance on your grave. You're like, okay. And dealing with those kind of things, only experience can get you ready for that. And you'll go through it and you'll bounce around and you'll have mixed emotions on it, and everyone does, right? Uh, so it's the big thing is it's going to happen at a relatively young age for you, 19, 20, and going through these type of scenarios. Very much most people who you'll be able to talk to about it and relate to are going to be 30. They're going to be like your friends your age that you grew up with and came up with, that are in your immediate group. It's going to be very difficult for them to help you with this kind of thing. When you look to your left and your right or whatnot, you are gonna, it might behoove you to like, do you have people that somewhat mentor you, or people will probably emerge, but
It's kind of yes and no. I have a lot of powerlifting friends. I've met some of my closest friends through powerlifting very early on. So a lot of them kind of like relate, like they know the process, but it's not like I'm not texting like Gavin, like, yo, bro, what are you doing right now? I'm
mm,
not like, but I have like mainly it's coaches, mainly it's like friends, people who I'm friends with, like coaches I'm friends with that I kind of talk to things, like talk with them about. But I wouldn't say like I have a strict mentor in my life.
it's they say that like men naturally collect father figures along the way, only to the point of, like, for instance, when you're in high school, oftentimes like your football coach or whatever, this is totally normal process for us as we come up. People will probably just kind of sort of emerge, and when you need them, there'll be people around, and certain relationships will build the more events you go to, and the more you go through. Who was your coach, by the way?
My coach is Trey Record.
how,
If
how
you
long you been how long you been with him?
I think now it's been about 2 years, actually. I think he started coaching me in prep for my last USAPL meet, which was, yeah, around 2 years ago. Did the math a little recently. But
How did you find him?
through a recommendation of one of my closer friends. Because my coach at the time, whoever I was with, um, I just wasn't progressing very well, or like I wasn't enjoying it. And then he was like, "Hey, get with this guy." And I was like, "Okay, sure, bro."
Uh, not bad gain since then, huh? No
Yeah,
complaints.
no, It's been
So
pretty well. I enjoy working with him.
yeah, apparently the proof apparently, man, the proof is in the pudding. Gavin Aiden said on King of the List 1,000 kilos. Everyone was talking about 950, and he's like, why isn't 1,000 being talked about? Why isn't? And I had people in my DMs like, God damn, that's so Gavin Aiden to be saying 1,000. And and I'm like, look at my man's a big dreamer. He dreams big. He's a big game hunter. This is the way Gavin sees. However, I don't know. Our 93s, should they be talking about 1,000? Is 1,000, and I'm not talking like in the next year or whatever, like you were saying, like by Nats, 950 is doable. And I don't know by year end 2026 if another 50 kilos or whatever's on there. First, you got to do 950 and see, right? However, having said that, that's 20-year-old Will Ball. Will Ball's going to be a 93 kilo lifter for probably a few years, several years. So where do you think 93s are going to be a few years from now?
Honestly, I think that they'll like evolve into more. I agree with Gavin. I heard what he said about how he thinks they're meant for more. And I've spoken with Gavin a few times. He texted me after I bombed out and was like, "Hey man," pretty much like TLDR. He was like, keep your head up. Things will come.
What? Really? He did?
He's a yeah, he's a really nice guy.
No, he's not.
Um, I think he's nice. I think he's nice.
Oh, I
Um,
love Gavin. I love Gavin. But it's shit. That's so he was doing that before you became 920 guy. Like
yeah.
you were just a teenage 93 on the way up with some hope. He's seen obviously him watching you was do you guys live close or
No, he lives near Elliott. He lives in Jersey, right? I think. And then I live in North Carolina.
okay.
So I'm
Oh
like a few states
shit.
down.
Dog, and he just reached out to you after you bombed. You're a teenage 93, and he's like, he just shot you a message, keep your head up. No shit. Look at I love Gavin. He's one of the dudes you meet people along the way. People just get brought into your life. And he is for really real a real one. And there's another guy who did it in a DM. It's okay to do it publicly too. So it helps rally support, but that's pretty good to for a guy in a DM just to be like, dude, don't worry about it. Fluff it off. Keep it moving.
Yeah, that's like I think it's really genuine. It's like, hey, it's like them speaking to you directly. But
100%.
I agree with him when he says like he thinks that they're meant for more. And I think 1,000 kilos and 93s isn't, oh, that's like blasphemous. Maybe like tomorrow that's not gonna happen. But I don't think that's insane. In the next few years, I think that there's going to be, the next genetic phenom, there's going to be the new freak, and he's going to be loading 950 every other week. And then, he goes into one meet, he totals like 1008.
Mm.
I think that's plausible in the next like few years. Next year, it could definitely be pushed. I think that because everyone's talking about how like 920 is not going to win Nats next year. Everyone's going to have to evolve. Everyone's going to have to pick it up. But, you give like anybody who has good progress and good what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Give one guy with good progress 2 3 years to add to his already established 909 plus total. I think 1,000 isn't crazy, you know.
We also have like it before this podcast episode, obviously doing my research and looking at your open powerlifting to see what we're looking at your Instagram to see what we're looking at. I always want to see like previous sports, etc. And you at 19, I mean, you go back just a few years and you're already like freaking 16 years old in high school. It's like we're like like usually I'm not used to like a couple scrolls and we're back to high school already. It's like holy shit. Not used to that by the way, because most 19-year-olds don't make it onto King of the Lifts and like that. So, but anyways, at 16, you were already incredibly jacked. Like we're starting to get genetic freaks and we always had some genetic freaks obviously, but I think as we grow, to your point in terms of you're going to get more and more of these, you know, one percenters genetically, and then they train like the top end guys train, and then all of a sudden that adds up to crazy totals. And the more and more we go, the more and more we're going to get this. What did you do before powerlifting? What sports were you into?
So what's crazy is I think I only did sports for I never really touched anything like sports wise up until I started lifting. I was doing like gym bro, like like that whole like niche of lifting for a while, like push pull leg stuff. I did soccer for like 2 seasons, and that was before I touched the gym. And then I touched the gym, was doing like casual gym bro stuff for like not even a full year. Got into wrestling for like 2 seasons, and then that was it. And then from wrestling, I kind of transferred into football training, but I never played football. Like I don't have any football stats. Um, and then I was like, dude, I don't want to do this. I just want to train. And then I found powerlifting through like a few of the people who have shouted me out recently, which is like kind of crazy. It comes full circle.
Oh, so what happened?
Mm, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but I remember like Russ, I was watching getting into football, or not getting into football, getting into lifting. And then it's in my DMs somewhere. But I don't know. It was they had made like a 920 recap. And I was like, man, he would make like informational videos on powerlifting on like how to get into your first meet.
And you found one, and it made you get into your first meet. And now that same dude did a 920 recap of you. It's
Yeah.
freaking crazy. That's actually pretty bizarre, huh? It must be pretty cool that does he even know that he he made a video that instigated you joining the sport?
I think he does. I've never really spoken to
Oh,
him.
you
I
got it.
really
Okay,
want to
listen, dog, you have to find out who it is. Tell him, be like, hey,
I
if
gotta
you
I
know.
gotta tell him, I gotta be like, hey man, you got me into powerlifting.
Listen, like you know what they say where if you could change one person or bring one person in or whatever, for this guy who literally made a video how to get into powerlifting and he has no idea who's going to watch it and what they're going to become. And for that guy to have made how to start powerlifting to realize, guess what? Will Ball watched that video and got into powerlifting and now it's the number 193 in the world. He'd be like, all right, well, that's my work is done here. I'm all good. I did my do. You're welcome, powerlifting.
Find it.
Take dog. That's the crazy. And also, let me say, you're not the first athlete in powerlifting to come on King of Lifts and say that. First, they were doing football, playing football, not on a major level, but weightlifting, weight training, strength training for football, and then decided, you know what? I'm not actually that into football, but I love the strength training for it and just kept right on weightlifting and then ended up finding powerlifting. We're like, oh, here we are. Here we are. I love training for it. I love the strength training for it, but I wasn't into the football part. I just did it to try to do something. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, there's a sport and that's all you do is
Yeah.
lift weights. Well, let's go. Let's go.
I found the page. It was
I was buying you time, man. See this? What's his name?
Darath Khan. You know who that is?
Wrath Khan. I'm gonna look him up.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, okay. Well, there you go, man. My man got you in. My man got you
It
in.
was like one
Um,
TikTok, and then I was like, you know what, dude, I don't want to do football. Let me power lift.
let me see what this is all about. When you were young, so your family, do you got like brothers, sisters?
I have two sisters.
And are they older, younger?
They're way older. Like they were out of the house they were out of the house when I was growing up.
Okay, okay. So they're like your relationship is more along the lines of an aunt than a sister in terms of if they weren't your peer, they were like adults when you were still a kid type deal.
Yeah, kind of. They were in like like one was in college and then one like didn't live with me.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a whole different vibe. And you grew up in North Carolina?
I did, yeah.
How would you have described yourself as a kid?
I was a little quiet. I was really skinny. I've said this on a few podcasts, but like before I had touched the barbell, I think I was like 90 pounds. I was a real
Holy
skinny, like
sh-
quiet kid. Um, I think, yeah, like I went from 90 pounds and I was training for like 7 months. And I think in that time,
90
within my
pounds?
first,
Dog, hang on a second. Wait, I'm still stuck there. You moved on too quickly. Wait a second. How hold on a minute. Hold on, because there's a point in your life where I was stronger than you, and we need to hang out here for a minute. Wait a minute. So you were 90 pounds. How old were you?
I think I was
15.
like 16. So I
Wait, oh, I was
started,
joking. Wait a second. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I didn't start lifting in general. Um, until I was like 16 and a half because it was halfway through sophomore year of high school is when I
Dog,
started.
have you seen the original Spider-Man movie when Tobey Maguire was super skinny, gets bit by a spider, and gets jacked when he wakes up?
Yeah.
This is you, dog. Did you get bit by a mutant spider? That's
I did not
crazy.
get bit by a spider, no.
90 pounds, 15, 16 years old. We'll call it 15 and a half. And what was your life like before that? When you were so you were shy?
Yeah, I was pretty timid, pretty shy, just like playing video games and like doing whatever. Like just in school, coming home, doing my homework, playing video games and like repeat. And I was like, dude, I want to do something.
How were you in school?
I was like, okay. I was always like all over the place. I couldn't focus, could never sit still. Um, but I wasn't like stupid, but I just
Average
like
kid,
couldn't sit still.
average student.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And how was like your home like?
It was good. It was like, I was supported. I was like just pretty average.
Why do you was it just genetically you're a skinny dude? Obviously, it's crazy because you're crazy jacked now.
Thank you. No, yeah, I'm like super lean. It's really hard for me to gain weight, especially like keep it. Like with my nutritionist, the worst thing I can do is not eat like my last meal of the day because I'll lose like 3 kilos overnight.
Oh my
It's
God.
terrible.
So
It's go
I don't
on.
want to skip too far ahead. We're going to walk through this, but um, how many calories do you eat a day?
Now I'm only at like 4K, but I'm
Oh,
like
4K is a lot.
consistently
Oh, you
really.
say only? Yeah, dude. 4K is you're only 4K. There are people listening to this, like Gavin Aiden's like two something. Like that's why when you yes. And he's
Haven't two?
yes. Yes, man. That's why he's first off, he's incredibly thick. Can you imagine if he ate 4K? He would be like a shorter Jesus Oliveras. It would be
Dude,
insane.
I
It's
thought he was
it's
eating like 5, dude. He's so jacked.
dog. He is I shit you not. It was I forget. I think it was 2022 South Africa. I was walking to the venue and there was like a building to my left. And then freaking somebody coughed. And I looked, it was the building. Fucking it was Gavin Aiden. I shit you not. That's how thick he is. The man is fucking thick. He was just wearing a gray shirt. That's all. And he was that thick. No, my man is thick as shit. And only eating like 2,000 some odd calories, man. God bless. He struggles to
That's
make 93 at
nuts.
times. Yeah. So 4K is crazy jacked. 4K is not crazy. 4K is like crazy a lot of calories. Decent amount, anyways. There's the odd. Same with Germans, man. Germans is like in the 2000s. Yeah, 4K is good, man. 4K is a lot. So if you ate 2K, so I see why if you were 15, 16 and you were eating like 2,000 calories, you would be much, 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 much smaller. You have a fast metabolism. You're probably eating totally normal and your body just doesn't, you need to eat a lot to retain muscle.
Yeah, no, especially when I was younger, I didn't really get into like nutrition or like any of that food stuff up until I got into the gym. So like for example, day one in the gym, I'm 90 pounds and I bench a plate my first day. Like the first time touching a barbell. I don't know. I'm like, dude, I'm like, how's this work? And my weight training coach is like, all right, go. And I bench a plate is my max. Um, and then I'm like, okay, this is cool. I do some accessories after. I'm like, okay, this is cool. I'm liking this. Within that first year, I went from 90 pounds to like 180.
Oh, that's literally doubling your body weight.
Yeah.
Literally hang on the money. You would have been the kid that people are slapping your books out of your hands and shoving you into lockers. And then the next year, you're literally taking that guy's girlfriend to the dance. It's like, what? This is crazy. This is straight out of a freaking comic book. This is every bullied nerd's dream is to be like, people are going to listen to this podcast and be, fuck yeah. Hell yeah. Dude, your whole life changed in a year.
It was like that's pretty much how it went. It was pretty progressive though. Obviously, I was eating like prime crisp Bumstead meals. I was eating like terrible meal, like dry chicken, like bland rice, and it was like 3,000 calories a day, like 3,500 a day. I was eating of just straight like bodybuilder, like the worst meals you could find to gain weight. And I only gained lean muscle because of it, because I was eating like the strictest meals ever.
And you just, what were you just smashing weights at that time? Decided like bodybuilding style, just to gain muscle mass because that's all you knew, or
Yeah, yeah, that's really all that I was doing. And then towards the end of it, I leaned more to like the power building kind of thing. I was like doing like top sets with like volume, with accessories, kind of like that.
so what was the rest of the people in your life thinking when, I mean, man, you would have been like amongst your pack, you would have been like the runt of the crew, and then all of a sudden in a year you're the alpha male. It's this is crazy. Like your friends, your family, your parents are all what? They're just like, dude, what you okay. So you're I'm used to seeing people in their teens all of a sudden find something that's theirs. Before that, they were kids and you knew them as kids. And then at some point in their teens, they're gonna find something and be like, now I'm this guy. Now I'm this girl. Whether it's they get into music, or whatever the shit. That's normal, totally normal. But when you see someone that finds their thing, like I found my calling, I found what I love, and it's something like weightlifting, the transformation becomes physical. So it's one thing if you got one buddy who finds something that like music is an easy one. You're not gonna see that though. You throw a guitar in his hand or whatever the shit it is, you're like, oh wow, talented. Wow, I didn't know that. But when person that's a teenager in your life is finds weightlifting, it is kaboom. The next summer you see them, it's like, what the hell? But yours is so aggressive. I'm used to like 20 pounds of muscle mass, and you see your nephew, and you're like, okay, nephew, I see you. Holy shit. All right. I'm going to be in the gym. But for you, you were like turned into an entirely different human being, one grade to another.
That's pretty much how it went. Obviously, there was like the implications that came with that. It's like everybody in my school is like, this guy's on steroids. This guy's taking stuff. Teachers were like teasing me, like everyone's like teasing me. But it was like I found what I fell in love with just training. It was like, dude, I don't think I'm ever gonna stop this. Because it's so like, I can just grab a snack and go to the gym. And I'm just like, every day was just, I'm flow state. I'm sitting there like crushing anything. It was like great. And it still is.
So you essentially, this story kind of resembles. Coco Clemence from like he's in the French equipe. He hangs around Penn and them, like at Worlds and stuff. You probably already know he's like medaled at Worlds, but he said like he grew up a little different. He was extremely small, but he actually had an eating disorder, anorexia, and he didn't realize it, but he was obsessive compulsive. So he was obsessive compulsive with everything initially, right? When it was uncontrolled. So first it was like with eating, he just loved the control aspect of it and would obsess with it. And it would be like a game how extreme he could get with it. Then so he's very, very small. Then he found powerlifting. Or no, weightlifting first before powerlifting. And then it became what you described like once you found it, you were like, gotta get to the gym. I gotta smash some weights. I just, oh my God, I love this. Stay in the gym, crazy hours, eat whatever you can. All of a sudden, eating is fueling the gym. And all of a sudden, he said, same thing. He found powerlifting and boom, everything changed. No, fuck that. Kill that noise about obsessive about food, whatever. He would literally be obsessed with the gym. I gotta get to the gym and start crushing weights. And his weight gain was incredible. But he was now what is his issue with food now food became a fuel and he's like no fuck that who cares about food now I need to smash food to your point about going from whatever calories to like 3,500 overnight and you're smashing weights and you're like oh my god I need to keep this moving changed his life. And he was like 110 kilos, which is like 140 some odd pounds. Like he's huge, like a huge guy, but he was so skinny. Like he said he got so skinny and worn down from lack of calories that he literally at points lacked the strength to smile. He was so tired and it was like incredible. He was so far his obsession with, and then he refocuses his obsession with like weightlifting and then massive gains and just completely changed his body and his form. But anyways, all that to say, I've seen this kind of thing before where all of a sudden you find it and you're like, I love it. Like, how into it were you? Were you like every day after school, you're smashing weights and just eating and lifting?
Pretty much. That's like pretty much how it would go. It was like usually 5 days a week. Five, maybe four. Um, there's some days like over winter break, I know I would go like 3 times a day, but
Holy
it would make
shit.
no sense. And if I look back at it now, it's like, okay, you're not even gaining anything. But it's just like, dude, I would need to go and just
Mm.
do something because it's like that was the only thing where I was like sitting there like getting things done, and I'm just in complete flow state, loving it.
When you say flow state, how would you describe it? Just meaning like it didn't feel like work. It just felt like it was enjoyable. It was like you found this is my calling. It was a release. Was it a tension release? Was it afterwards you feel at ease? But then you're like, I got you go 3 days. If you went 3 times in a day, hour or two goes by, like, fuck, let me get back. Let me go back. I'm good. Let me try a little more. Like, was it just you couldn't get enough of it?
That's pretty much how it was. Like during like when I describe like flow state, I mean like when I'm sitting there getting stuff done, like crushing weights, getting some reps done, and getting just my workout done. It was like I just couldn't get enough of it, especially in the
Mm,
moment. It was like, what else can I do?
mm. Yeah. And after you found powerlifting then, so what age were you when you found powerlifting then?
I think I was like, I want to say I was around 17. I can check because I remember I can check my open powerlifting,
Yeah, you were
but I
16 when you first started competing.
yeah.
November of 2022.
Hmm. Yeah. I think I was 16 because I turned 17 a few months after that. Um, but I think at that point I was into like I was watching like all the powerlifting like content around the time. Um, trying to find.
Wait, for a guy
Yeah, I
like
was
you, when sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
no, you're good, go on.
I was just gonna say, for a guy like you who found powerlifting changed his life, changed like how much you're eating, how you're structuring your day, and like how you felt. For you to have then not long after found like for you to have found weightlifting like that, not long after to have found powerlifting, to be like, like how excited were you to find out, oh shit, this is organized sport?
It's like a full circle moment again. But in my first meet, in that one in 2022, Ashton Ruska actually handled me. I wasn't even his client. I was self-coached. But Ashton Ruska like had fully like he didn't like do my attempts and everything, but he like put chalk on my back and like gave me a few tips and was like guiding me through the meet. And I had
That's crazy.
no clue who he was. I think there in my recap, I like shout him out, but I didn't know who he was. I was like, shout out to that one guy, Ashton. Um,
you
but
probably thought, you probably thought, hey, I'll make this fucking guy's day. He probably not knowing.
dude, yeah, it's I was thinking, I remember what I was thinking when I first saw him. I was like, dude, this guy's fucking huge.
Yeah, yeah,
He was
yeah.
like
That's a
bursting through
fact.
his like his collared shirt and everything.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, what was the question again? Sorry, I was rambling.
Um. What was I? What was I saying there? Oh no! When you found powerlifting, you must have thought, "Holy shit, this is for me." If you became obsessed and started flowing in the gym like that, you must have been like, "Oh my god, this is definitely for me."
Yeah, yeah, it was really like wow. It was like the curtains were open, like all the sunshine's bleeding through, all this like all this new sport that I've just found is like for me. It's like, oh wow, I really think this can go somewhere. And I just fell in love with it so quickly because it
When
was
did you
already
know?
something. Go on.
When did you know you could be like amongst the elite?
I really I knew I could be like something. I knew I could like be good at it when I was sitting in the warm-up room for my last USAPL meet and my coach was like, yo, you could like wipe the sub juniors right now. There's nobody in the 93 sub juniors. Um and I was like, dude, really? I was like, he was like, yeah, man, you can go to Worlds. And I was like, no way. And I had found a screenshot from a few years ago. I think it was 2021, and it was how to become an IPF world champion or how to go to IPF worlds. And it was like all the steps in like a completely wrong order because it was back in 2021. Um, but my coach was telling me, he was like, yeah, man, just go to do some random powerlifting American meet, go to nationals off of that, and then, win and go to worlds. And that's what I did like a year later.
What do you think? What does your future hold? Are you going to be a 93 the rest of your career? You think? Are you a lifetime 93?
Oh, I think I'm a little tall for 93s. I wouldn't say lifetime, but I think I could definitely spend an awesome year in the 93s or years in the 93s. I think it'll really be something for me to consider once I've become established and once my resume is a lot more extensive and once it actually becomes an issue for me to make 93.
And what does the rest of your career look like? Are you what are what are your plans?
I don't want to really like I don't want to put limitations on my career, but I know I want to be like a big name in the sport. I want to be definitely established. Um, I know my next year is definitely what we talked about earlier, like open nationals, open worlds, Sheffield. Because I was actually I not really called it, but I was talking about with a few of my friends, Elliot especially. I said if I make it to Sheffield next year, that would be insane.
I wonder who was the youngest Sheffield appearance so far. That might be you, sir. It might
That
be
would be
you. That's something to look up.
who is because the only one
I
that
also
comes to mind is Callie.
I also wonder who is the youngest open world champion in the classic.
Isn't it in the classic? Isn't it Joe?
Ornstein?
Is it?
You would definitely beat that record.
Oh, wait,
Those
it
are
might be Nonso.
Lonzo didn't win open.
Oh, you're right.
My
I'm
man.
outing myself. I'm not
My man, listen,
I'm not
that's
tapped
why
in.
Mike Tyson that's why Mike Tyson's famous. He's the youngest heavyweight champion at 20. You got to check these things out. For everyone remembers firsts. And like just like Russ, I said it was the first 93 10 times body weight. If you were the youngest ever open world champion and then the youngest to make Sheffield, I mean, dog, setting the bar at 20, that means people got to get 20 in however many days because they'll come down to days. There'll be another 20-year-old who's like 2 weeks younger, whatever. Set it. Take a look. This is worth looking into. Um, Frig, now you got me wondering. I'll check all these stats out before we get to open world, so obviously start rhyming this shit off. Chasing down history, young man. Chasing down history. So is the next competition for you open nats?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume so. Well, listen, my man. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Much appreciated. Absolutely freaking sensational 920 performance. By all means, I think anybody who didn't know you before, sure as talk about one weekend changes everything. Um, Congratulations on all your accomplishments. And there was absolutely no question this is just the beginning. People say that, but you're freaking 19. For you to be doing what you're doing, sky is the freaking limit. And for you to say 1,000 kilos, I would bet everything I own at some point in your career as a 93, you're going to hit 1,000 kilos. If I got to bet yay or nay, I'm betting yay. 1,000 kilos is in your future. World titles, the whole nine. It's only a matter of time. So stick with it. And thank you for coming on the podcast. And for everybody listening, as per usual, please do subscribe, give us high ratings, and until next time, six pack Lapadat, six up, and we are out.